Reddit. What's the weirdest and most NSW thing that happened when you were at school? NSW. In high school, I had a friend who was legally blind. Not completely blind, but his vision's bad enough that he got a guide dog in college. Our junior year, he was dating a freshman chick and one day, they end up banging in the drama room. Eventually, the school board finds out and tries to expel him. He gets off with a suspension after his lawyer creates the defense that, because he was blind, he couldn't drive her somewhere else to frick her, so to expel him for this would be expelling him because he is blind. Best lawyer ever. That is an impressive case to make. Good on him. When I was in 8th grade, age 13-14, a guy was suspended for jacking off in class on 2 separate occasions, in the same teacher's classroom both times. The first time, it was because he had his dong out. Somehow no one noticed, and he came all over his shirt pants and asked if he could go clean himself up. He hadn't yet put his dong away. The second time, the teacher caught him with his hand down his pants. Another time, in 10th grade, age 15-16, I called a guy out for jacking it in class, and he pulled his dong out and threatened to hit me across the face with it. I told him that it wasn't much of a threat. He stood up to, I don't know, confront me or something, and thus had his semi-erect dong on display for the class. The teacher saw. He was suspended, etc. He blamed me for the rest of high school and attempted to hit me with his truck twice. You should have drawn dongs on his windows with that window chalk crap. My freshman year of high school, one of our Spanish teachers got caught fapping to some sort of porno by a student during lunch hour. Needless to say, he was fired. The teacher even looked like a diddler, so I wasn't surprised. Also during my senior year, the school started playing music 1 minute before you had to be in class in hopes of combating tardiness. So what did someone do? They got into the secretary's office and swapped out the CD and the CD player for it with a CD of P sounds. So a minute before 5th period, we were greeted with the sound of a woman moaning and basically saying, oh god, frick me, I wish I knew who pulled that one off so I could shake their hand. Weirdest. When I was a freshman in high school, the seniors put a dead deer in the cafeteria ceiling. Originally they wanted to hang it in the senior area, but they couldn't because of motion sensor smoke alarms, so they put it in garbage bags in the ceiling of the cafeteria. They did this on a Friday night during the Battle of the Bands. Monday morning, people were sitting in the cafeteria and noticed something dripping from the ceiling. It was deer blood. We got out of a day and a half of school because they had to get the Board of Health to clear the cafeteria to serve food. TLDR. Seniors put a dead deer in the cafeteria ceiling as their senior prank. Most NSW. A guy brought a bag of corn cobs to school and put one in the milk fridge. Watching the teacher on duty take it out with a horrified and embarrassed look on her face was pretty hilarious. During homecoming dance at my high school in Maryland, this girl was grinding on her date. Either she was very good at manipulating her butt, or this dude had no experience with the ladies. I guess she got him all good and worked up to the point where he was going to blow his load. Not wanting to see M in his pants, he decides to do the only other rational thing. He whipped his dong out and came all over the chick's back. She ran out of the room screaming, and he went and hid. None of the other high school dances I went to ever lived up to that one. For all those asking, it was John F. Kennedy in Silver Spring. Good ol' homecoming. One time in math class we were having our unit test, dead silence the first hour, the time it took the majority of the class to finish their tests. I'm still trying to finish when I hear 2 girls sitting near me laughing hysterically. My first thought, being a completely insecure 10th grader, that they were laughing at me. I was trying to figure out if it was my BO, or if someone stuck a note on my back while I was writing the test, and whatever horrible things my mind could think of. It got to the point where I finished my test and everyone, literally everyone, was dying of muffled laughter. I got the courage to ask one of the kids what the laughter was about, and they just pointed to the math teacher bending over a student's desk, answering a question. He was wearing a thong. A couple in high school stayed after school and decided to go into the elevator that is used for the handicapped to maneuver between floors. Well, a janitor just happened to be going on the elevator to take stuff upstairs to clean. What she found when she opened it was a couple with their pants down and the guy's hand in his girlfriend's snatch. The next day everyone knew, and the joke freaking in an elevator is wrong on so many levels, and the Aerosmith song Love in an Elevator was the highlight of every conversation. I feel as though my middle school experiences were way worse than high school or college. In 6th grade, during a standardized test, my friend threw a pen on the ground to get my attention. I look over at her and she points towards the desk in front of me with a look of utter disgust. This guy pulls his hand out of his pants and this whitish clear substance is dripping from it. He then does the very last thing I expected. He licked it off. Okay, well, I guess smearing it on another person's face would have been the last thing I expected. But the reality was a close second. An 11-year-old, who looked considerably older considering how she developed, told 21-year-old she was 19 and ended up pregnant. In 8th grade my friend decided that it was time for her to lose her virginity because she didn't want to be a loser. WTF. So she proceeded to just frick with a random guy. This random guy was not on, which peed on off. He got so mad that in the middle of math class they got into an argument and he decided to scream, "You is disgusting. I mean, look at you. Everybody knows your pee is up for sale." So she nonchalantly walked over to our teacher's desk, grabbed the scissors, and stabbed him in the neck. Don survived. Our teacher grabbed her just as she lunged forward, so she got him, but nothing too serious, other than a cut in the side of the neck. When I was in the 4th grade there was a fight club in the bathroom. Apparently a kid got the idea from the movie, and every day after lunch, around 15-20 boys would go to the bathroom and beat the crap out of each other. The best part was they wouldn't talk about it to anyone who wasn't in their club, and the only way I found out was when I went to take a crap after lunch. Good times. Fight Club was the beginning. Now it's moved out of the bathroom. It's called Project Playham. Most NSW is definitely back in middle school. This kid took the school's trend too far, which was being forced to physical shame and harass someone if you got a X drawn on your palm with a pen. Yes, so this weird mother, Simon, ended up violating this girl in my class after cornering her during recess. Simon got jumped after class and ended up hospitalized. Almost a dozen students got suspended for it. He was an unpopular kid, and like I said, weird. She attempted suicide and supposedly moved to another state. Frick you, Simon. When I was 14, a strange kid at the grammar school opposite mine took someone's pencil, went to the toilet, shoved it up his butt and then put it back in the guy's pencil case. The guy responded by taking his pencil case and crapping in it. This all happened in the course of a geography lesson. Needless to say, I never really got along with the boys at that school. I like to imagine that this whole feud happened without a word or look between the two of them. Not weirdest or most NSW, but in year 7 when I was 12 years old, I remember this one girl who was known for being a S. How S can someone be in year 7? Who knows? Brought a condom into music class and started playing with it, sucking on it, blowing it up, and at one point she even slapped the teacher in the face with it. You could get away with anything if you had that teacher. She was a woman who had very clearly spent years of her life tripping some serious balls, and was left as a nice, quiet middle-aged woman who would, after enough provocation by the class, go apocalyptic for a minute or two, then sob quietly in front of the class apologizing. Kids are brutal. I always felt sorry for that teacher. I'm not sure how old she was, but there was definitely an 8th grader in my middle school with a child. We had a special education program in my high school that kids from all over the state went to. Although kind of sad, there were a few stories that came from that. One kid somehow found a freshly used bloody tampon and flung it onto one of the chalkboards. It was stuck there when my class walked in. This other guy was deaf and would screech like a raptor every time he would be in the bathroom. You could hear him from down the hallway. This one poor girl could not stop itching her crotch. Not sure if she had a condition down there or something. The kids in my high school were relentless and made the special ed kids' lives a living heck. It was sad to watch. On a lighter note, my friend thought it would be a good idea to chug a bottle of cough syrup before school. Ended up stumbling to the front of our Spanish class and puking into the garbage can. The teacher had me escort him to the nurse while she took the class out for fresh air. Apparently there was a dead squirrel on the picnic table outside, which didn't help the situation. God, I hated high school. Right? Found your bloody tampon. Boy chopped off his tongue with safety scissors. Teacher's car outside the window was being stolen, so he ran out with the broom and beat up the robbers. B was pretty cool. Teacher told us stories of the giraffe that lived under the stairs and scared the children to the point of diarrhea. He even made the noises. School nurse gave a boy several injections into the bum as a punishment, although this was only a rumor. I think that's about it. I went to a private Christian school. There were 2 girls, twins, a year above me who wanted nothing more than to leave. They had tried several times to get themselves expelled to no avail. So, one morning, during our weekly chapel, they sat on the front row, and, as the priest started his prayer, these sisters just start making out with each other. Like, tongues all the way down throats, heads twisting, hands all over each other. It took a minute before most people realized what was going on because we all had our eyes closed and heads bowed. But when the prayer was over and the entire school sat down, they stayed standing. There was an audible gasp from teachers, students, and the priest, just as one of the girls pulled the other's head back by the hair and started biting her sister's neck. One of the gym teachers grabbed the 2 of them and dragged them out of the chapel. It was disgusting, because sisters, and awesome, because rebels. And the winner for best event at a Catholic school goes to. Stories from my high school included, a girl smeared the message, "Boy loves girl," on a bathroom wall, using crap for ink. A boy peed himself in class and claimed it was orange juice. When a teacher asked him to remove the orange juice container, he stood up, looked the teacher square in the eye and said, "There was no orange juice." A boy didn't check to see if there was toilet paper in the cubicle before he did his mid-morning crap. This resulted in a large crowd gathering in the bathroom just to laugh at him, and the head teacher had to personally come down and throw toilet paper over the cubicle door. On the bus home, other kids threw toilet paper at him. There was a rumor that he had tried to wipe with his own hands. A boy masturbated in class. A girl apparently tried to masturbate with a Mars bar in class, although this wasn't confirmed thankfully. A male student pulled a teacher's trousers down in front of a class. A boy I knew personally had acid thrown on his back during a chemistry class. I was threatened with a chisel once for standing my ground when a wannabe hard man tried to shoulder barge me. The girl in front of me in science class in 1st or 2nd year had nits so big I thought they were woodlice, crawling all over her head. One of the head of house teachers came down and proceeded to follow the girl around class for a good 10 minutes, squinting at the back of the girl's head. She was sent home. I still shiver when I think about those monstrosities tunneling through her hair. Some kids made a Facebook page as a joke accusing a teacher of touching them. This teacher was one of the nicest, most genuine men I've ever met and was devastated by this. The police did get involved and the pupils were expelled. I also heard stories about a gay boy who was held down and had deodorant sprayed in his eyes. It happened before I went there, so it may not be true. I'm inclined to think it is. There were also rumors of a teacher who was prone to being bullied. The stories ranged from throwing grapes at him in class to locking him in a cupboard. There definitely was a boy with anger issues who once picked a fight with 3 female teachers, one of which was noticeably pregnant. I think a chair might have been thrown. I just remembered a story that went around about a boy in my year who apparently stabbed his dad in the neck during a row over Valium. I can't say for certain if he did stab his dad, or if it was over Valium, but the kid definitely did not turn up for school and I haven't seen him since. What kind of school did you go to? During a drug-free day where the police came and told us kids why we shouldn't do drugs, they also brought a bunch of their animals from the force. So they had their dogs sniffing for coke in one section, and the horse patrol in another. Anyways, the mounted officers were showing us their horses, when one of the male horses apparently thought the girls had it going on, and, yup, 1.5-foot horse erection in front of kids. Needless to say, they stopped bringing the animals around. In high school I went to the restroom to drop a bomb, and while I'm doing my business somebody walks in the restroom. Seems like a normal occurrence, right? Nope. This guy walks up to the door to the stall I'm in and proceeds to ask me to let him into the stall and let him suck my dong. At this point I'm thinking, whoa dude, you're fricked up. So I tell him to frick off and that there is no way in heck I'm letting you do that. He continues to plead with me on how much he want to suck my dong. Now I am freaked out. I thought he was going to crawl under the door at this point. Luckily someone else walked in and the guy left. I finished up and got the heck out of there as fast as possible. TLDR. I go to the restroom to crap. Some guy really wants to give me a BJ. I tell him to frick off. He doesn't. Some stranger comes in, saving me. The guy wanting to suck me off leaves. I finish dropping my fudge dragon and get the frick out. Upvote for fudge dragon. Kid has a disagreement with his English class about the meaning behind some story, so the next day he takes a large knife to school with the intent to kill all of them. Turns himself in before going ape crap. Gets expelled. Same kid get angry about the expulsion and threatens to pick students off with a sniper rifle at graduation as they pick up their diploma. Restraining order is put in place and graduation is now indoors. Two guys went around school their senior year competing to get the most girls to answer a stupid question. Phone number, cup size, what color underwear, if any, and my favorite, how many fingers? Watched a P movie in English class. One day the tape had a class project on it. A few weeks later the tape started with the class project and ended with a solo masturbation scene. In 6th grade in Mrs. Bradstreet's class, this black girl that was ghetto and everyone disliked asked to use the bathroom. The teacher had told her no, but she wasn't having it. So she got on top of the teacher's desk and dropped her pants and urinated all over the entire desk. Needless to say that got her expelled from school, and 19 years later I will still think about it from time to time and laugh. At least she did take a crap. Freshman year of HS I was in my health class that was outside in a portable and was taught by the basketball coach. So he really didn't give two shoots and would disappear for 30-40 minutes at a time during our 90-minute classes. Well, one day during one of his absences, one of the kids in class got up and left, and when he returned 10 minutes later, he was bloody and had a diamond stud earring. Apparently, he had left class, gone and beat the crap out of some other kid in the bathroom and stole his earring. He then gave the earring to another girl in the class who promptly put it in her own ear. 2 stories. Story 1. Freshman in technology class. Teacher is in a swipe and is asleep in his office. The guy whips out a bottle of lighter fluid and starts lighting his hand on fire but shortly putting it out. Only senior in our class is a busty blondess and she decided to light her cleavage on fire. She uses too much and can't put it out. She rips off her top and attempts to put it out. I get a CT for the first time. They are on fire. Story 2. Junior in German class. My teacher is a B and won't let us use the pisser until after class. Girl in our class kinda had a thing for her. Asks to go to the bathroom. Teacher says no. She says she really needed to go. Teacher still says no. She goes and sits down. 5 minutes pass and the girl stands up, pulls down her pants and takes a pee on the floor. First time seeing a fanny and it's pee. One of our French teachers suddenly ran out of the classroom in the middle of a lesson in a panic. He ran to his car and pulled 2 dead dogs out of the boot trunk. He started sobbing and trying to give them CPR. It was singularly the weirdest, most awkward and heartbreaking thing to witness. Apparently he had walked his dogs the night before and forgotten about them overnight and all the way into school. They suffocated, died of heat exhaustion. He was a nice gentleman but suffered badly from manic depression. I heard he committed suicide a few years ago. The weirdest things that happened at my school was the insane amount of drug use. People would smoke bowls in class, do bumps of coke in the bathroom, pop Xanax. One freshman thought it would be a good idea to take acid in class after taking painkillers. It turned out to be quite a poor idea. The 2 oddest stories I can think of are, my friend and I decided to drink a little before our first block, and he ended up mixing a drink in a McDonald's cup to bring it in. We had a substitute who's rather old and oblivious, so we weren't too worried. He ended up knocking over his drink on the ground, and his solution was to spread it around with his foot. We sat for a half an hour in our seats. The entire area reeked of vodka, and then we hauled butt out of class. A group of friends and I ate wheat brownies before class. We had a shark dissection coming up that day, and due to a lack of sleep I immediately passed out in the lab. I awoke, still in a high stupor, to my blazing lab partner wearing the shark on his hand, working its mouth like a puppet. I laughed for about 15 minutes and then passed out. In 3rd grade a guy I know mooned everyone in class while the teacher stepped out. He got caught. Not at school, but this one chick was notorious for being a mess. One day she was with a mutual friend and her boyfriend and had a webcam up for her boyfriend at the time. He told her to go over to the bed and straddle the bedpost. She did and got stuck. 8th grade. Do high school dances count? One guy had a million tabs open on his school computer and was caught watching hentai. It was hilarious. Another guy in my homeroom was caught jerking it in the school bathroom. 8th grade, some guy had to pee and was denied to go by the teacher. He whipped it out and peed in a bottle he had. Not NSW, but senior year I witnessed a rain dance. A bunch of jocks were pounding a rhythmic beat on the tables and going ooh to the beat. All of a sudden one guy jumps on the table and starts dancing for a brief moment before being escorted out of the cafeteria. Witnessed a guy in my 8th grade homeroom seduce another girl who was friends with his girlfriend in note form to prove to his girlfriend that she was a lying jealous bee. Apparently they were going to frick in the bathroom near Mr. Goebel's room, but it obviously didn't happen. It was just stupid middle school crap in my opinion. At my middle school we had a midget teacher that wasn't the nicest person to the kids. She taught English and had her mini desk and chair at the front of the room and it was about hip height. We had a band contest at the school, so all the local middle schools were there and they all kept their instruments in the midget teacher's classroom. During the contest someone snuck into the little teacher's room and took a very large poop on her very small desk. The look of horror on her face as she found the giant turd on her little desk at eye level with her is forever burned into my memory as one of the funniest things I have ever seen. TLDR. Someone took a big dump on the midget teacher's tiny desk. I was driving to school by age 16 as a sophomore. I would go on runs to another town to buy magazines for fellow students for a profit. I had that week's deliveries in my backpack. Had independent study in the gym instead of study hall with my crush. She asked if I had any notebook paper and I said yeah, in my bag. Not thinking. I realized my mistake too late and she pulled out about 6 mags. Her eyes bulged and I explained what they were for. Since there were no teachers around, she looked through each one in silence. I was expecting to be busted. Once done she looked at me, took me by the hand and said my favorite 2 words. Come on. We went a back way to a room above the stage at the end of the gym. Spent the next 15 minutes losing each other's virginity. We dated for 2 months and then broke up. Best school day ever. For some of you that doubt the story and my stamina, here is some clarification. The 15 minutes was the total act, foreplay included. The actual act, I lasted about 3-4 minutes. Buying pee you needed to be 18, but I was a big guy and did my buying in a college town. Once I made the first buy without getting carded, it was easy. I had been reading P mags since I was 10, so my knowledge was vast for a 16-year-old. In a small town it's not a good idea to brag about getting laid. It would have gotten back to her very quickly and ruined a good thing. This was in the late 1980s before internet pee. I even rented pee for my friends on weekends from another town. Made extra cash then as well. It was fun watching the look on the good Christian boys come and ask me for pee. I doubt this ever happened, but if it did, god dang. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.